Another balance patch has dropped. And this has been a while, I suppose. And we're about to assess the changes. So yeah. Okay, so let's see what we got. There's the so-called community balance patch. Exactly how reflective that is of community feedback is anybody's guess at this point. But let's move on. So let's start from the beginning. Sprinter legs. Okay. Starting from the hot topic. Okay. Agility cap has seen a change from 2,500. Correction. Agility floor has seen a change from 2,500 to 2,650. Let me just verify one small thing. Although I pretty much already know the answer. Was it in summer? Okay, so back in summer, the floor was reduced from 20,000 to 7,250. Okay, so it wasn't that. We're talking about pre-autumn most likely, or was it autumn? It was definitely autumn. Or was it even winter? Let me just double check. Was it winter that ruined sprinter legs? Maybe it was winter. Yeah, that was a big patch changes, notes, things. So let's head up to sprinters. Where's sprinters? Sprinter legs. Okay, so it was in winter, in, well, late December, where we got an early inverse Christmas present, because there's such a thing as, you know, something you absolutely don't want. It's like sending a bill to a person for Christmas. That's the grade of contribution this was, where agility for sprinter legs was further reduced from 7,250 down all the way to 2,500. Now keep in mind we started off at 20,000, which, to be fair, was massive. It was unacceptably high, fair enough, but they've completely trounced it all the way down to 2,500 back then. And now, according to these changes, they're back up to 2,650. So great. So they basically did the equivalent of shooting somebody in the gut with a shotgun and applying a band-aid and calling it all better. So that's wonderful. Okay, I'm not at all impressed with this change. I haven't even tried it, obviously, but let's see. Before we move on, though, and actually get into the testing, the light agility jump scale values have been enhanced, which, by the way, the main primary issue with sprinter legs, just to remind everybody concerned, is the agility at the lightest end. It was never about the agility at the heavy end. That was always, well, up until they actually ruined it, fine. But that hasn't never been an issue. So, okay, those are the two changes to sprinter legs. I'm really curious to see if there's anything worthwhile to it. So, you know what, let me just give it its best chance. Let's go for a relatively light build, which actually would be impacted by this. Test mode. Now, keep in mind this is not a pure sprinter, so there's that. I'll keep that in mind. Now, I'm sure that this is supposed to be better than it was before. I may not be noticing it, I might be biased, I probably am biased, but whoopee, with all these speed boost parts, I'm able to break the 300 km/h mark. That's inspiring. Wow. That's totally not outshined by pretty much any air unit worth its salt. Alright, maybe it's just this build, that is, you know, not striking me as being that much better. Okay, so that wasn't really anything to write home about, and that was... Is that the lightest one I have? Let's double check. This is heavier. This is absolutely heavy. Well, when I say absolutely heavy, I mean medium heavy, let's face it. This is T4s, so that was a T3 experience. Let's compare with the T4 experience. In which case, T4s have actually taken a much bigger buff to their sprinter jump than... Okay, I know this is modestly heavier and all that, but seriously, must a person install hovers in order to unlock the actual potential of actual sprinter leg parts? Is this really the direction that the so-called balance server insists upon butchering? This is nothing to write home about. This is a shadow of its former self. I want to try again because I wasn't paying attention. What speeds am I actually achieving? Terrific. Breaking the 300 kilometer mark again. It's like, what's the point? Why am I using this instead of cars, for instance? That's not good. Alright, so... And of course, let us now try the murder victim. An actual bot which is not light. It's heavy. And when I say heavy, I mean medium heavy, let's face it. For a ground bot, this is not heavy. This is a ground bot. Can we establish that? This is a ground bot, ultimately. This is not a very heavy weight for a ground bot. It's certainly not on the light side, but neither is it ridiculously heavy. So anyway, let's try it out. Let's see if it made any difference whatsoever. Which, by the way, based on the stats as mentioned, I expect zero change. Now let's see just how badly the balance server had screwed this bot. Oh, look at that. 160 kilometers per hour. Let's call it 170, be extremely generous about that. Wow. This apparently was not a problem that the balance server, the so-called balance server, which I emphasize does not represent the community, in spite of what they might give Free Jam the impression as to otherwise being the case, they decided that a bot like this requires butchering. Oh wow, we actually managed 180. That's impressive. Wow, we absolutely don't need balancing there. Incredible, we managed 180 there. Wow. I take everything back. The balance server aren't led by... Yep, this absolutely needed this level of butchering. That's absolutely what it needed. This is balance right here. This is peak performance. You absolute muppets. And you did nothing at all to address your crime. Wonderful. Well done, so-called balance server. Alright, so let's see what this build looks like when it's gutted. All struts have been replaced with rods. All heavy blocks have been replaced with lights. Okay. Made it above 200, that's wonderful. Oh, we almost hit 250. Ramp off. Perfect. Oh, 260. Oh, that's amazing. Yay. I feel so appreciative that we have such a competent and non-corrupt server handling the balance of the game. That's absolutely wonderful. Who needs structural integrity? Or an actual, crafted robot. Wonderful. Well done, well done. So that's it for sprinter legs. Any improvements to the butchering, which they've basically given sprinter legs as of last December, following the previous extreme nerf, to be fair, very, very severe nerf back in the previous summer. This 150 kilo addition in weight is really just an insult to most to anything that is not a light sprinter, and especially so to middle to heavyweight sprinter legs. I mean, the fact that you can tolerate this level of poor mobility in a build which is not light, okay, fine. It's over 30,000 kilos, it's under 40,000 kilos. It's... I mean, let's be frank, there are planes which exceed that and do better. There comes a point where you're balancing against the community. The kinds of bots you're balancing against aren't problems to the game to begin with. This is just one bot, but I'm pretty sure it's not the only one out there. Sure, it has tank tracks. Gee, sue me for being innovative. I mean, how dare you craft bots? How dare you actually exercise creativity in this creativity-based game? I'm not asking to be OP, I'm asking to not be crippled. There's a difference. There's a massive difference, and what they've done as of last December is literally cripple such bots. That's not acceptable, and they have done absolutely nothing to remedy that situation. Nothing whatsoever. So yeah, am I surprised about that? No, I'm not. Am I angry about it? Of course I am. They had an opportunity to remedy a fraction of the wrongs that they've done to the game since 2020. Yeah, so moving on, I guess. So let's see what we have next. We have skis. Okay, skis have taken a 40% increase in speed boost for some reason. This is not the first time that skis have been significantly buffed. The previous buff I was pretty much in favor of. The current one seems... listen, there's such a thing as too much of a good thing. There is such a thing as too much of a good thing, and I think that it's only correct that I should test out G-Kitten and see what we're dealing with. Okay. Get on the ground. Alright. Ah, interesting. So I did see 550 there. My initial reaction is, why not? $570. That was a bit of a vanity thing, I suppose. Didn't really help test this. Honestly, I can't fault it yet. This is it's not something that seems overpowered, and that's literally why I'm testing this. What would I consider to be overpowered? Good question. I'm not sure with regards to skis what overpowered would look like, but it's not this. But then again, this is not exactly a ski spam bot. It only has 6 skis, so it gains a grand total of 12% speed boost, technically. So anyway, that's the thing. Okay, so that was non-ski spam. There is a ski spam bot that I could test, and I shall do so. And it's not something that I expected to be a thing for this video, but okay, let's try this out. This has far more. I'm thinking it's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 rows? That's 16, so that's 32% increase in speed boost over all of them, so yeah, that should be an interesting test. Let's see if this changes my opinion. Okay. I mean, sure, when the insect legs are engaged. Okay. Okay, that was more of a vanity thing. No, seriously, what's your top speed? Looks like 450, because you're limited to the speed of your wheels. You're not enjoying infinite speed, which is, or potentially infinite speed, which is supposedly the shtick of skis. So, okay. Is this powerful? Yes, it is. Is this overpowered? This is a tier 4 bot. If it is, it's only slightly so. This is going to be a headache in tier 4, I'm pretty sure. Presuming it doesn't lose its, stability. This is going to be fun, I must admit. And yes, it's available, so lucky you. Alright, seen enough. Okay, so, conclusions. I cannot fault this change. Do I think it was necessary? I don't think so. But at the same time, I don't see any consequences to this change. At least, not as of at the moment, as of speaking. So, through gritted teeth, I'm gonna say good job, balance server. Through gritted teeth. But also depends on other things, so we'll see. Let's see what's next. Rotors. Rotors? Rotors. Okay, so rotors have taken a significant agility floor increase of 500. Okay, I mean, compared to the initial floor, it's definitely better off. From 1,300 we're up to 1,800. That is good. That is at least relatively good. I think it should be higher, but okay, I'll take it. Now let's talk about agility changes. Okay, so it does look like they're... Okay, they gave an inch and they're taking a pound from heavy bots. Heavy rotors are basically getting low-key butchered. And when I say low-key, I mean medium-key actually. Medium-key butchered. 70% decrease in agility stats for height acceleration, strafe acceleration, turn acceleration, of all things. Level acceleration, even worse. Height max change speed. Okay, and let's talk about what else there is. In the meantime, the light values for not T2 rotors, but for Tier 3 and Tier 4 have been increased modestly. The increases at the light end, I support. The decreases at the heavy end are, pun intended, heavy-handed. But before I proceed to condemn them, let's see what we're looking at. So, rotors. I think rotors are this way. No, they're that way. Okay, so rotors. What do we have available? Date. That's not bad. It is heavier. These are the two copters. There are other copters over here somewhere. Classic. Even heavier. This is heaviest, and I shall be using this to test out the, I guess, the heavy end of... Yeah, this is going to be fun, I guess. Well, and I'd say fun very loosely. This is another tier 4, which is, you know, a little lighter. Okay, so do I have anything at tier 2? Yes, I do. Okay, so let's see how badly they screwed tier 2s over. I'm afraid to do this. Rather than afraid, I should say I'm hesitant to do this. Show me what you got. It's so clicky-clacky. Is it my imagination, or has the sound of the rotors changed as a result of this? Okay, and of course, one has to test the most important aspect of any rotor in action. Huh. No, it is actually camera shenanigans. Alright, just making sure there's no... No. I mean, tier 2 bots. If this is what the agility is like on the heavy end. I mean, is this the heavy end? This is like halfway, I'd say. This is what's considered a medium weight bot by that range, so slightly on the heavier side. I want to hate on it. That reaction time is atrocious. The maximum descent speed is atrocious. Certainly feels heavy, except, you know, down shouldn't be so difficult, at the very least. That's going to be annoying, but it's a build-related limitation. Okay. That wasn't nearly as bad as I expected it to be. Very well. Let's move on to tier 3s. I mean, this is as good as any to try. Then again, let's give tier 3s their best chance. This is around 3.5 times the floor. I have to admit I'm not impressed with this agility. The back and forth is okay. Change in direction is much better. And that is absolutely essential for pure rotor bots. You know, not the kind of bots that the balance server actually balances for, because they could care less about the actual individual movement parts. Which is why I maintain that they're not a balance server. Correction is just one reason. This somehow feels both better and worse, if that makes sense. And I'm thinking that certain values do make it such that you cannot really adjust its height as well as before. And by the way, this is something that I have to point out as being a major buff for Teslas, by the way. Because guess what? One of the most effective ways for a rotor bot to deal with Teslas is to per use of its superior lift rate. If it is limited, that is going to greatly reduce the ability of rotors to deal with their mortal sky enemies. So yeah, this is actually a minor buff for... Is it a minor one? I mean, most players wouldn't actually go as far as to figure out that the weakness of most Teslas is the ability to change height at, you know, gradual rate rather than a much sharper rate. So this, I would say, is a win for Teslas overall. However, at the lightest end, it's not the case. At the lightest end, the only end that the balance Discord seems to care about, yeah, I can see this being a lot more snappy for them. But yeah, that was actually kind of fun. Alright, moving on. Back to business. Okay, so verdict. Nothing to write home about, once again. Better and worse at one go, and we're talking about a bot that is around 6,000 kilos. Sure, it's not pure lights. There are some struts in there. And electroplates. And modules. This is not exactly a heavy build either. So, before I move on, I think I should get the full tier 3 experience. I choose you. Tier 3s. Test. It's modestly heavier. Oh yeah, that's definitely felt. Yeah, how do you buff light bots while also destroying heavy bots? And, of course, I used the word heavy very relatively at this point. So, yeah, one has to wonder what true heavy bots look like. Well, look on the bright side, we can use Blink to get down if we want to. Yeah, this is depressing. That's another bot in the no playlist. Let's try tier 4s out. Not this one. Not yet. Let's give it a modestly better chance. but I will come back to that. Tier 4s. Nothing to write home about. Honestly, there's no point even attaching the speedometer at this point. It's just so slow. Again, a buff for Teslas. Congratulations. You buffed Teslas. Wonderful. And the story doesn't end there. One more bot to try. Test. And this isn't even at the highest end either, so this is more like 3/4 of the way. Tell me you hate Robocraft without telling me you hate Robocraft. Release balance patches like this one. That's a start. And yet I feel so jaded at this point. I've come to expect no better of them, because seriously, these are the kinds of bots that needed balancing out of circulation. Well done. Well done, you absolute muppets. And now I'm curious. I believe I do have... No, I don't. Apparently not. Oh yes, this is not mine. A rare case where I tried somebody else's bot for the window maker, which was pointless because that quest isn't working anymore. Unless I'm doing something wrong. Moving on. Wait, before I delete this, let me test it out. This should have hovers in it and it has wingspan too. I wonder how well sprinter legs are gonna do. Definitely better overall than pure sprinter legs, but... these are the kinds of builds that the balance server balances for, because heck knows these are the only kinds of bots that should be balanced for, right? Whatever. How heavy was that? On the lighter side. Lighter than any of my bots, because guess what? It's not a pure sprinter. Hi there, you're about to gain weight. As soon as it hits 18, I stop. That's pretty much saturated. One more for good measure. There we are, we're pretty much there. Very well, this is now a maxed out bot in terms of agility being effed over by balance server. Let's see what we're actually dealing with. How badly have they been screwed? Oh, wow! This is terrific! Oh, oh my goodness, you have no idea just how badly they screwed heavy bots. Oh, wow. And these are T4s, by the way. Wow, this is literally just drifting. I don't even have... It's so bad, it's just drifting around. What the hell is this? I just cannot convey just how bad it is. I'm only pressing one input at a time. I'm pressing the forward button, W is being hit. Wow, just wow, fantastic. You absolute imbeciles. Congratulations, you managed to ruin, when I say ruin, I mean fully ruin, heavy rotors. Good on you. See how long it takes to go the opposite direction? Okay, now we're going in the other direction. Let's try this out. Just take a moment. 3, 2, 1, go! Changing direction and... Alright. Don't took like 4 or 5 seconds. Wow. Oh my goodness. You absolute imbeciles. Well, well done, Muppets! You actually ruined yet another Robocraft part. Well done! Pat yourselves on the back. You actually ruined the heavy side of rotors even harder, somehow, even harder than you ruined sprinter legs. Well freaking done. Well done. Hashtag heavy bots matter too. Well done. This is certainly going to make Robocraft better, is it not? Wow. Oh, that looks wonderful. It's okay, you don't need to write yourself. Why would you need that? Oh, that's terrific. Oh, absolutely fantastic. Look at this. For the first time in a very long time, we need to use the flip function to get a rotor bot up and running again. Well done. Well done. And this, by the way, is at the very edge of their newfound agility ceiling. This is rage-worthy. This is rage-worthy. Well freaking done, you absolute imbeciles. And you call yourselves a balance server. 70% at the heavy end, when most bots aren't even at that level. Well done. Just because... Okay, so here's the thing. Here's the thing. For as long as the agility floor of a part is ridiculously low, and it is ridiculously low, by the way, this level of agility at the so-called heavy end of builds is not acceptable under any circumstances. This is atrocious. This is a crime. This is a crime. This is a literal crime. I've no idea how many bots have been butchered by this. Now, should a bot be 18,000 kilos? Fair question. Interestingly, apparently there's a helicopter out there, the Me 26, I might have butchered the name, which currently has a maximum takeoff weight of 56,000 kilos. 56,000 kilos. And can lift up to 20,000 kilos externally. Externally. So yes, when you effectively make the maximum that the highest tier rotor part in the game be practically incapable or hardly capable of lifting even less weight than the carry weight of an existing helicopter, you know you got a problem in the so-called balance server. Now you could say, sure, balance isn't what we're talking about here. I mean, the fact that a real-world copter can carry that level of weight. I mean, well, this is freaking atrocious. What the hell? Anyway, just because a real-world copter can lift 56,000 kilos doesn't mean that this bot being incapable, or almost incapable, of shifting, you know, 1/4 of that weight makes it a bad thing, because, you know, balance is a consideration. Maybe all other bots in the game are bad enough, or I should say horrible enough, to justify this, but it's just not the case, is it? Now look me in the eyes, or look the entirety of the Robocraft player base, the actual community that you pretend to represent, and tell me that this is balanced. Tell me this is balanced. Tell them that it is balance. This is not balance. This is... There's a word which starts with an R, which is a crime, that this represents. That's what you've done to this part, as you've done to other parts in the game. Well freaking done, balance server. Now, I know that a certain somebody enjoys my videos, apparently, on this subject. But try telling me I'm not justified. Try telling me my rage, my anger at the very least in this regards, because, let me remind you, I'm not even a heavy copter user. I'm not a heavy copter user. But just because I don't use a bot doesn't mean that other players don't, or cannot, or shouldn't. That's the whole freaking point. I represent these individuals, you don't. Or, let me correct myself, I don't represent them, but at least I give a damn of what they think, of their player experience, and that's a sight better than what you do. I can assure you that much. Unfortunately, one of us gets in here and the other one doesn't. So, anywho, that's a thing. Well done, well done. You butchered heavy copters. And of course this is tier 4s, I don't even have to check tier 3s and tier 2s. They're actually worse. Or best case scenario, just as bad. So anywho. So yeah, the verdict there is that, well done, you butchered another part. Well freaking done. You butchered a part. Look at that smile. It's smiling at you, knowing what you did. Flowey knows what you did. And now you do too, in case you were ignorant enough not to know what you were doing. Well freaking done. Okay, what's next? Wings. Okay, so the floor has been increased from 1,100 to 1,800. Okay. I'm not against that. Optimal carry mass has been increased. Really? The optimal carry mass has been increased significantly. Not sure I agree with the changes in carry mass, but okay. Speed boost has been reduced for tier 3s, tier 4s, and tier 5s. Okay. Glad to see that they left out tier 2s, because they weren't changed to begin with. That's good. Okay. They were actually overdone, especially at the tier 5 end. Are you freaking serious? Okay, so all agility values have been reduced by 90%. Why? Okay, let's try it out. So let's look for a wing bot. It should be too hard. Let's start from... You know, these are basically the same thing, so may as well start from the lighter bots. Wing spam. Tier 2 wings. This feels weird. Definitely less snappy than it was. Less snappy, but I wouldn't say horrible as of yet. Strange. I mean, it does feel a little more drifty. That's a given. That's granted. It doesn't feel anywhere near as bad as I was expecting. Okay, well, this doesn't feel bad. This does not feel bad. However, I have to keep in mind this is the lighter of the two bots. Let us try something heavier. I mean, not much heavier, but let's just test it out. This is a tier 2 bot. Yes, still a tier 2 bot. And it's a fair degree heavier. I'm starting to feel a change. This feels like it's passing through molasses for some reason. This is absolutely worse than the previous plane. It is somewhat heavier. Still nowhere near what I'd consider a heavy bot, but it's certainly noticeable. I am becoming curious to see what an 18,000 kilo bot would be like. Probably will test that. Okay, so, that's tier 2s. There's also tier 2s. Tier 3. Slightly lighter. It's not even pure tier 3, but it's tier 3 nonetheless, so give it a test. It feels slow. It feels drifty. But it does feel controlled. And this with the optimal carry mass increase, most likely. That may be having an impact on mitigating the dreadful effects of those dreadful changes. But so far, I can't see anything that makes me angry per se. Of course, I need to move on to a tier 4 wing. Tier 4 wing right there. Forgot to check the weight. More snappy. I'm guessing this is a lighter bot. Now I'm looking for tier 5s. There's this, but this is what I want to try. 6,000 kilos. 6,200 kilos. Very drifty. I'm not sure how to feel about that. I mean, is it bad for the banks to be drifty? Definitely an effect on dives. Still got the same interaction errors. Alright, well, honestly, I don't see anything particularly objectionable. I would be irresponsible if I did not try out wings at their heaviest end, so it shouldn't take long. $18,000 kilos is the target. Adjust for evenness. Alright, that'll do, that'll do. So that'll be fine for our analog. Let's wait. I don't need a speed indicator really, but let's just test it. So 18,000 kilos, just wings and heavy chassis. Alright, fair enough. Let me just check the stats again, make sure I haven't missed anything. So 1,800, 18,000 is the ceiling. Carry mass for... that's not right. Tier 5 wings have a carry value of 10,000 each. What? It's currently 18,000 kilos, so... these are tier 5 wings. All 16 of them, so there shouldn't be a carry bug in place here. Just for the sake of argument, I'm just going to add more wings, just for the heck of it. Now I've got more wings. Let's try it out. 50% more wings. That should definitely have lifted off. I have a feeling there's an incorrect value in there. Nope. They definitely don't behave as they should. What? Huh, interesting. Wings are bugged. Why? I'm curious, maybe if I get them up in the air. Huh. Oh, hell no. They're not bugged, they're just balanced into oblivion. Something tells me I should be angry about this. This is... This is I can't even go down fast. Alright, that's completely grounded. Now, this bot should have 240,000 kilos of lift capability. Yeah, this is bugged. This is balance server borked at this point. Alright, so verdict. Part of me wants to give them a pass for this, for the only reason, and the only reason for that is that maybe they couldn't have seen this coming. However, at the same time, I don't want to give them a pass because it wasn't anybody other than themselves whom decided it was a good idea to reduce the agility values of the wings by 90%. 90%. That is not good. I shouldn't have to explain this to them as to why that is not good. I thought we've been through this. I thought even FreeGem understood that very significant changes in a single update are pretty much never a good idea. Certainly of this type, where you're taking the actual stats of a thing and decimating them by, again, 90%. So, yes, let me just come out and say that this part, wings, and who knows what they did to rudders, I should really check what they did to rudders, but wings, at the very least, need to have a very significant part of their agility back. I would say, at the absolute minimum, double it. At the absolute minimum. Perhaps triple it, because guess what? If you triple it, you're still restoring, you're still 70% under what it was before. And that's working with what they had. Quite frankly, I'd go back up to 50% and see how you go from there, at the very least. At the very least. And the reason I'm saying that is because I saw how other planes work. Because, you know, between the increase in agility floor and the increase in optimal carry mass, which by the way I still think is weird. That is absolutely weird, honestly, but hey, then again I would have upped the agility floor more, basically. I mean, it seems like the balance server are going down different directions at the same time and then being surprised when things don't go quite the way they planned. Can't they just, you know, mess us with a single variable and see the effect? I know that FreeGem only does this every once in a while, but guess what? Perhaps if you weren't so focused upon ruining a few parts, many variables at a time, perhaps you could, you know, be a little more competent and adjust singular values every single time a balance patch comes along and see how those balance changes amongst many parts, not just singular parts butchered into oblivion, would affect things. I mean, if I were to come down to it, is what I'm doing with the so-called PathForger balance patch proposals any different? Yes and no. On the one hand, I don't get the luxury of being misguidedly, might I add, given full reign of balance patches under the pretense of representing the community. Let's face it, you don't represent the community. You haven't represented the community in a very long time. And so therefore, I don't get the luxury of balancing things out incrementally. I absolutely would opt for an incremental shift and see how things are going, so that if I should take a misstep, I would see it coming over the course of 2 or 3 balance patches, not a singular balance patch which absolutely ruins a part. Which it wouldn't be inexcusable in the case of the so-called balance server if they weren't called out on it and persisted with it, as they did with sprinter legs, for instance. They just loved butchering parts for some reason. And each part they butcher, it's not like they were meta to begin with. And it's not like they're universally butchering those parts, it's butchering those parts beyond a certain threshold to which they're not blind, to which they do not wear blinkers towards. Yeah, anyway, moving on. That's enough ranting about that. Let's see what's next. Of course, after wings, one would expect rudders. Oh, what a surprise it is, rudders. Okay, so, right. Now, rudders are taking a agility cap reduction of about 9%. Not for it in the least. But I can kind of understand that perhaps they wanted to change it, but you know what? I'm just gonna go out and say it. No, I don't understand that. It's low. It is low. It's low. However, that's not the full story. They're increasing the base speed of rudders by 40 kilometers per hour. So from 210, it's up to 250. That's a very significant change. This is... One would think that I'm for this, but there's actually a problem. Yep. PathForger doesn't like this. PathForger doesn't like this. Why doesn't he like this? He doesn't like this because increasing rudders' base speed increases their inclusion benefits, their inclusion value proposition. If you put one rudder in, you're getting 250 kilometers per hour speed rather than to 210. So yeah, slap a couple of rudders on your build and suddenly you have 250 flight speed unless you have other parts messing around with your speed, such as, you know, rotors for instance, or wings. I noticed that this breaks the base speed universality, the equality that they had between them in terms of their base speed. Wings are now 210, the base speed of rudders has been increased to 250. Okay, fine. The agility values have also been butchered. So not only are you... Okay, and the optimal carry mass has also not been touched. Where's the consistency? Why did you touch the agility cap if you're also butchering? I mean, what's wrong with you? Were you dropped on your head or something? Okay, I can tell this is going to be a travesty. Their base speeds have not been reduced. Well, that's a small mercy, at the very least. I mean, when I say their speed boost values, that's a small mercy, combined with the rudder base speed changes, that's gonna make a difference. So, okay, I'm expecting to get really angry very shortly. I can see it coming. But let's give it its best bets. 4,000 kilos. Let's go. Test. Let's see just how badly the balance server borked you. You're moving. I don't know why you feel slow. This is my imagination. You should have 100 problems, but speed shouldn't be one of them. Alright, no, you're not slow. You're technically not slow according to the number. You just, for some obscure reason, feel slow. Okay, that's an interaction with the ground bug. That's a known issue. Keep in mind there's not just... Okay, come on. Come on. Haven't forgotten how to fly. Okay, so this is playable at 4,000 kilos. And this is not just the rudders at play, so I keep that in mind. Elevation speed is abysmal. It literally requires those other parts to get it to move. Okay, right. So this is not a true test, is it? Very well. This should be a travesty, but you never know, maybe it's not. Heavier. And a whole tier lower in terms of parts. Ah, you rise, you rise. You rise. You're not slow. You're definitely sluggish. You turn like the Queen Mary. Not unplayable. But should playability really be the bar set this at? Should it? And keeping in mind once again that there's other parts at play, so... Okay. Okay. Time to edit this. So, we're talking about a lighter load, so... Let's see what it looks like. 5 rudders, let's give it its best chance. That's close enough, I suppose. Let's try it out. Unsurprisingly, it's behaving the same way. Can you even move? Nope, you want to move, but you can't. Very well. You know what this means? This means we get to add more rudders. Test. Trying. Still insufficient. Nope, not even able to move at the heavy end. Okay. I guess the optimal carrier mass increase for wings definitely helped. Not that I'm in favor of optimal carrier mass increases for these parts to begin with. The issue isn't the optimal carrier mass, it's the agility butchering that the so-called balance server implemented on these parts. Very well, so what we're left with is I need to lighten the load. So that's almost 25% reduction. Let's call it 25% reduction. Test. Hopefully we'll get off the ground. I mean, we'll see. Alright, this makes a huge difference. Very poor agility. And this, by the way, nowhere near the maximum that theoretically should be able to take. So yeah, we're witnessing evidence that the balance server has butchered yet another part. Well done, well done. At least at the heavy end, certainly. Alright, so let's see how far we can push this, since we can definitely push it a little further. Let's go for 90% and test it out. Can this carry 90% of its agility? Yeah, it can. It can. It can do that. What we're looking at. Oh yes, every flyer should look like this. Drifty as heck. Yeah, I don't change my opinion, they actually did butcher this part. However, on the bright side, in theory it can achieve a higher base speed. Whoop-de-doo. Now that's a poison pill if I've ever seen one. Alright. Okay, so, let's see what's next. Thrusters. Okay. Thrusters have taken a speed boost increase. Not against it, per se. For some reason, they've also taken a spin-up reduction. I mean, a severe spin-up reduction. What are they thinking? Oh no, that explains a lot. That explains why the Tier 2 plane was so drifty. 5 seconds to spin up. Okay, what were you thinking? Seriously? Oh, that's at the heavy end. That's at the heavy end, and their weight capacity is 4. Oh, I get it. Yes, of course. Let's ruin everything that's not a drone. Okay. Or a Tesla, by the way. What were you thinking again exactly? What was the purpose of this? Why did you change this? Who asked for this change exactly? And on what basis? I'd like to know this, but I can't tell because I can't even see what's going on in the server. Nobody's ever going to be able to convince me that Rex Hack Bro is not corrupt. With Terra as a stooge. So yeah, moving on. Thrusters. What could we try to test out thrusters? And other changes. Interesting. I mean, it is technically faster, but the acceleration is slower. Just occurs to me that this is very much a buff for Teslas overall. However, yeah, Teslas are absolutely fine basically. There's no hovers about it. Okay, so next. That was a lot less offensive than some of the other things. Propellers. Okay, propellers have taken a significant floor increase from 2,000 to 4,000. Not against it. Propellers are meant for heavier builds after all. The heavy spin-up has been reduced from 12.5 to 7 and 10 to 6 respectively. That is interesting. That is interesting considering the speed boost reductions. This should make them more responsive for heavier builds, which is a very surprising change coming from the balance server, since they are pretty much in the category of fat shamers at this point, or weight shamers I should say. So, okay, so let's see, what has propellers? Well, technically the sprinters had propellers. Car could do. Has less propellers. Car. I want to test car. Test the car. Interesting. The acceleration is certainly a little faster. Climbing capability seems to be better. Is it my imagination? No, it's not my imagination. That's good. That's an overall improvement for this particular build at least. Needed a bit of good news, honestly, after all the nerfs it's taken. Right, well, that was not a bad test. Anything else I can try for propellers? What else? And technically a new plane would have propellers in it. But I've already tried my planes. There was nothing to write home about, but then again, they were tainted by other things. Propellers, propellers, propellers. I should test this. I should test this. Rudders. Oh, wow. Tell me I hate Robocraft without telling me you hate Robocraft. Wow, this is worse than... This is actually much worse than when... Oh my goodness, this is actually unplayable at this point. This is no longer playable. I mean, it's playable in the technical sense of the word. And if any weapon could tolerate this level of inadequacy, let's call it, I suppose it's Lommels. But seriously, what the hell? What the actual hell? Really? You can't even dive. Right. Okay, next thing. That's it for movement parts. Let's move on to weapon parts, where they've touched Seekers. All tiers of Seekers, including the Protoseekers. T3 Seekers have had their projectile speed reduced to 600 from 2600. Interesting, but why? At the same time, T4s and T5s have had their projectile speeds increased from 500 to 600. Okay. Interesting. Initial rotation speed. Are you freaking kidding me? T3 Seekers down from 4,500 to 0.1. T4 and T5 Seekers down from 500 to 0.1. What are you smoking over there? Because that's bad crap. Moving on. Okay, let's see what else. T4s and T5 Seekers also take a lock time reduction from 2 seconds. Well, when I say reduction, I mean an increase, I should say, from 2 seconds to 2.5 seconds. A 25% increase. And the change in lock time, as in when a person wants to switch target from one to another, has been reduced from 0.5 to 0.1, so pretty much instantaneous. Projectile range has been reduced from 500 to 300. Interesting. Okay, so it seems, before I even check things, that this is a net nerf for ground bots that use the weapon. This is not promising. Okay, so I'm very interested to see how Seekers are doing. T3 Seekers. I mean, technically any T3 Seeker bot will work for this. Test or match. Test or match. What's the mode? Team Deathmatch. Is that a good idea? Let's do it. For science. T3 Seekers, we're going to check out the change in speed mainly. Look at it go. Oh, come on. Okay. Right. Just heal up. Those projectiles feel... How do I put this? Garbage. Then again, what have I come to expect from the balance server other than garbage? Oh, that's TNDM. Okay, it's not good. Let's reverse. Let's move in. Reinforce. Okay. Assist. Running. That's not good. Guess that was lag. Probably was lag. But seriously, that projectile speed is disgusting. Why? Does it even track anymore? Time to find out. It sort of tracks. Ah, there goes the gun. Trying to punish me. Not managing. Okay, hiding. Into recovery. Uh-huh. I get it. Let's punish. Oh, come on. Insect legs, stop screwing me over. This is weird. I do not like your survival chances, it's Adrian. Come on! No. 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 I'm locked. I am totally locked. These insect legs are bugging out. Is it the insect legs? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm out of control. I'm out of control. That was disgusting. Okay, that's not good. Okay. Recovered. That was bullcrap. Okay, so that's happened. Control issues. Moving on. So, verdict. Why did you ruin Seekers? I mean, correction, why did you ruin Protoseekers? What was your aim? Why? Did it have anything to do with a certain defeat in a previous league, by any chance? Making a point? Oh, terrific. Matchmaking exploiters. As if the game wasn't having enough of a hard time. This is a more valid matchup. A more valid test for the weapon. Still better than facing matchmaking exploiters. There's no comparison. Huh. Nice escape, I must admit. Very good, I approve. I don't think you can get out of this one, though. Or are you? Okay, that'll work. Oh, that was so mean. Haha. Good moves. Sorry, you're dead. Well, you got your kill. Nicely done. Ooh, nicely done. All right, all right. Well played. All right, so my thoughts. Let's go back to the beginning, go over them. So, sprinter legs. This was a buff for light sprinter legs. A potential very slight buff to medium weight. When I say medium weight, I mean like 10,000 to 15,000 kilo bots. Very, very, very slight. This basically buffs the sprinter jump for all bots that are below the ceiling, which is at 26,500 at the moment, for these bots. And I'm sure that the light bots, the super light bots, are having a good time. Ultimately, these changes were not made with sprinters in mind. These changes were made with quote-unquote competitive super light bots in mind. It's not made for the community, it's not made for the player base, it's made for a select few individuals whom are selfish enough to balance the game specifically for themselves. Because here's the thing, there's no reason why the light sprinter bot enjoyers, and I use the word sprinter bot very loosely in this regards, there's no reason why those individuals cannot enjoy their bots while also not ruining the experience for quote-unquote heavier sprinter bots. There are absolutely ways to balance around that without ruining the heavy bot experience. But there's no will amongst the individuals of the so-called community that actually matter, which comes down to the inner circle of, and even that is questionable, of the balance server, which calls itself a community. That's disgusting, honestly. Were the changes bad for sprinter legs? No, these are all buffs, but historically speaking, sprinter legs remain in an extremely bad place for as long as they are not, in the cool crowd, in the very lightweight crowd, the designed to not be sprinters crowd, pure sprinters specifically. So that is always going to be annoying. That's something that is, quite frankly, unforgivable. And that is something that on its own weight, the sprinter legs changes are something that the balance server should absolutely answer to. The ski changes. These are buffs. I tried to see if there were any consequences. I did not notice any consequences to these changes. With that being said, while these are becoming better, certain other parts are becoming worse. So I can't fault this change. If I can't fault a change, I will not condemn them for it. Rotors. The light, and I mean very light, sure, you technically can make a light bot light. The light bots, the very light bots, the sub 5,000 kilo bots, and perhaps that too is being generous, those bots have it good, or I should say, have it better. Anything above that gets worse, and at the heaviest end, there's no two ways about it, the balance server should hang their heads in shame. It's disgusting exactly how bad the mobility is at the heaviest end. Remember, you're balancing for a game, not real life, and by the way, once again, 56,000 kilos! That's what real life tells us, that's what's done today. I'm pretty sure that 18,000 is not 56,000. So yes, that is, and by the way, the mobility is definitely not as bad as that, or if it is, it's at 56,000 kilos. Tell you what, raise the floor to 5,600 and we'll see what happens. Maintain the current agility values at the heavy end, and we'll see how things go. Sure, you'll have plenty of complaints about heavy bots not being nerfed enough, I suppose, but seriously, these values are disgusting. You have to fix this. No, correction. Free Jam has to fix this. Free Jam has to clean up to your mess as always. Wings. Wings are a mixed bag. The changes to optimal carry mass were bad. Revert. Full stop. I would say even do worse than revert. Just revert entirely. The carry mass per wing needs to go down. The agility cap needs to go up. Yes, further than this. The speed boost, okay, fine, I'll accept. A degree of reduction of speed boost was necessary. These agility changes disgust me, and they should disgust anybody who has any modicum of sense. I mean, perhaps you could make the argument that you were ignorant, that you didn't know it would bust heavy builds that badly, and quite frankly, from what we've seen from, sprinter legs, rotors, is anybody surprised if you actually did know what you were doing? Because as hard as it is to believe, I believe that you actually do know what you're doing. That makes it worse, actually. This degree of change is extremely irresponsible, and these are the kinds of changes that Free Jam should really put their foot down on and just learn to tell balance server no. Because It is further highlighted in the changes to rudders, which is further down. We may as well go to rudders while speaking about this. They're both pretty much the same, with their differences. The agility changes to rudders, I'll come back to the space speed in a moment. You can feel the struggle of those parts. They're trying to do something at times, but they haven't got the stats to do it. You literally have starved them of the ability to lift their own weights. Correction, the weight that they're supposed to be able to carry, which is 10,000 as a ceiling. They're not even able to lift that amount. So yes, I wouldn't say a full revert, but if you want to scale back on the changes that you did previously, do so more responsibly, at the very least. I would fully expect to see all these agility changes to both rudders and wings increased by an absolute minimum of 400% based on the current values. An absolute minimum. To bring them back to 50% at least, and see where we go from there. However, the base speed isn't what it needed. You needed to buff you really needed to buff or I should say, restore the relationship between wings and rudders. Rudders have always, up until your intervention, had a 20 to 25% greater speed boost over wings. Giving them 40 base speed more than wings is a very backwards way of compensating them for your mistakes in the past. Mistakes that, by the way, nobody asked for, so perhaps it's your agenda. I don't know what your agenda is. It can't be anything good at this point. The reduction of agility cap for rudders was a just why. Why reduce an already pretty pitiful floor for rudders? I mean, it's already been established that it's hardly even possible to build a bot at 1,000 whatever kilos. It's just practically impossible. I mean, not without sacrificing CPU. What's the point of reducing it by 10% or 9%, whatever? It's mind-boggling. Honestly, it's like twisting the knife, you know? That's literally what it feels like. Moving on. Thrusters. The increases to speed boost, okay, I can accept. Why? Because it boosts most builds. All builds, actually. With a few exceptions of those builds that don't use thrusters. Spin up time was absolutely unnecessary and you've got it entirely backwards. Tier 1 thrusters are the thruster that most needs to have the lowest spin up time. Why? Drones... anything that you... Listen, why do you use tier 1 thrusters? Let's use our heads for a moment. You use tier 1 thrusters to apply force to the side. Now, you could say that the speed boost before it kicks in is... before it kicks in. Thinking. Still, it's way too high. It just gave me some context on something else, but still. I've no idea whom suggested this. I can't imagine this being good for the game. It's not good for the game. And here's what bugs me most. The thrusters that are least affected are the ones that are, considered the most problematic because of, high speed boost. If anything, it should be the other way around. If you're gonna have high speed boost, have a greater delay. However, in truth, I honestly don't see a point in the spin up in the first place. Certainly not one that discriminates against the low tier thrusters. Moving on. Propellers. This is a change I can't disagree with. You already mucked up the speed boost for the part. At least you've finally given it some reduction in reaction time. That's good. That's just simply good. Moving on. That's actually might be a good thing for most heavier builds. Weapon parts. Tier 3 Seekers. Why on earth did you mess around with the projectile speed and the initial rotation speed? Why? I'm also going to say that the initial rotation speed as applied to Tier 4 Seekers and Tier 5 Seekers is actually much less impactful than you might imagine, presuming your intention was ever to nerf the weapon in the first place. Because you see, the initial value might be a certain amount, but the amount that you increase, that you actually turn those projectiles following the initial rotation is still high from what I recall, and that's pretty much the only reason why Tier 3 Seekers haven't been destroyed by yourselves, by the way, because they still have fairly decent post-initial rotation. Quite frankly, I consider that to be an accident. It's an accident that you didn't completely ruin the weapon, although at the same time you also did ruin the weapon because you reduced the projectile speed, you absolute muppets. The lock-on time. I felt the difference. It is a small nerf for flying bots. It is a big nerf to ground bots. What a surprise! Ground bots already have a hard enough time locking on. When you make it even harder, guess what's going to happen? Ground bots have an even harder time locking on to the fast thing that's moving around them. But hey, you don't care about ground bots, you've already established that 10 times over by now. You were never about balance, you're always about your selfish self-interests. Projectile speed, reduction to 300. Okay, it was necessary. Ultimately this is more of a nerf for ground bots than for air bots, but this is one that I understand. The change in lock time from 0.5 to 0.1? Fine. I don't see a big deal with that. Not a major big deal anyway, although I suppose now it's even... No, actually now that I think about it, it might actually worsen things, because it's entirely possible for somebody to very accidentally, very briefly shift their cursor onto another bot while trying to track this bot, and just because it touched another bot, it'll start locking onto that, which honestly isn't a good feel. It's not a good feeling, and the change lock time is not something that most players had problems with to begin with. So yeah, that's also a net negative overall, though doesn't matter if it's green, it's still negative generally. Although I'll grant you this, it's a very minor one as far as I've been able to tell. So that's everything for the moment. That covers my thoughts on the balance patch. Unsurprisingly, I come away negative. Sure, I have biases against the balance server, but those biases are justified. They've been justified for a long time, they continue to be justified with every single balance patch, and I can't see that changing anytime soon. I find it extraordinary that FreeGem continues to give them the time of day. So yeah, that's everything. So what do you think about this balance patch? Do you think I'm exaggerating? Do you think that... Do you disagree with certain things I've said? Certain takes? Certain evaluations? By all means do let me know. Even if it's an agreement with something, that's good to hear. What do you think about the balance patch in general? What do you think of the balance patches server at this point? Do you feel that they serve the best interests of either the game or the player base? I certainly don't, but maybe you think otherwise. And why do you think FreeGem continues to pay heed to them? Is it really a matter of there's nothing better out there? Is that really it? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Considering the things that they've been allowed to get away with, anything is a possibility at this point. So yeah, that's everything, and I sure hope you managed to garner some value out of this rant. And sure, there are a few things, as always, as usual I should say, there's always those one or two things that have been positive about the balance patch. Can't rip on the ski changes. The changes to the propellers weren't bad by any means, they were kind of overdue. But that's pretty much it. The sprinter leg changes technically in their own right technically weren't a bad thing, although, again, it's done nothing for the class of bots that they literally screwed over in a previous patch. I just don't know what to think anymore. What I do know is that, those matchmaking exploiters that I encountered, as damaging as they may be to the game, they don't hold a candle to the balance server. The balance server is so much worse. It's so much worse. That just makes the game worse, patch after patch after patch after patch. And I'm hoping that better will come in future. Perhaps one of these days, one of these videos will just hit a nerve just right to force the balance server to be held to a higher standard, to a greater degree of accountability. But I must admit, I'm at the point where I'm just not holding my breath anymore. I'm not gonna hold my breath, and I can't say that the situation that persists with Robocraft 1 is inspiring of confidence for as far as the future of Robocraft 2 is concerned. A bit of self-respect, please. At this point, honestly, I do think that it would be better for FreeJam themselves to host the balance patches server. Honestly, they don't need a balance patches server. They just need a subsection of the Robocraft 1 balance, the Robocraft 1 Discord. They just need a space in the Robocraft 1 Discord, of which I'm still banned after, all these years, and which I have no regrets over. Matchmaking exploiters still are a scourge, and I'll never change my view on that. But yes, if FreeJam were to take over, create a new space in the Robocraft 1 server, allow the actual community to give feedback, which FreeJam assesses as being representative of the actual community that actually plays the game, then maybe, just maybe, sure, it'll be more chaotic than a few corrupt individuals who pretend to represent the community. Sure, it'll be more chaotic than that. It'll entail more effort than that to a point, depending. There's always the possibility of assigning proxies. I'm sure you'll find proxies. Heck, even I'd be a proxy, if need be. But seriously, you need to show that you actually care about the future of the game. And if that means taking back balance, by all means do so. As for the community, sure, they won't like hearing this, but what you have is no better. What you have is literally no better, based on these balance patches. That's all I have to say. Thank you for watching.